Limited were Kenny Clark, J.J. Ingabare, Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Josh Myers, Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker. The guys that were out were Elton Jenkins, Jordan Morgan, Jaden Reed, and Carrington Valentine.
So what was Jordan able to do for you today?
He was limited, Bill.
I figured so. Was he able to do team?
He was limited.
So it's yes or no on team?
He was limited.
In team?
He was limited. Take that however you want.
That, regardless of how limited he may or may not have been, what does it mean to have him out there at least?
Yeah, I think it's always great to have your quarterback out there, but we'll see how he progresses throughout the course of the week.
And obviously, Malik needs reps if he's going to play. Just how new he is in the system. So how are you kind of handling that? And I'm not asking you how many reps Jordan took, but like how do you get two guys potentially ready, especially one that needs all the work that Malik does?
That's always a challenge, and so I think throughout the course of the week, hopefully you get a better indication, and that kind of leads to some of the decisions that you have to make.
Is Jacobs okay? Did you just work him so extensively on needed a little time, or?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I'm not concerned about him. He said he felt great after the game. It's just, it's the life of a running back, I would say, in this league, especially when you get 30-plus carries in a game.
How did, overall the kind of condition where the guy was in after the hot game and, where you would keep it?
I definitely feel like there was some wear and tear. I mean, obviously, when you look at the injury list, that represents that as well. But those guys that are not on the injury list also are fatigued, and so we made some adjustments to our practice schedule. And we know it's going to be another physical game this weekend. It's going to be hot. They're a very physical football team, so we got to make sure recovery's at the forefront of what we need to do.
What is it about the Titans' defense that makes them so effective? I think they're the fewest yards in the league so far.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of veteran players, and they're a well-built defense. I think schematically, it's a challenge. Denard Wilson coming from Baltimore, and just he's an experienced guy in this league. And then when you couple that with really good players, you have a chance to be a really good defense. And they do all the little things the right way in terms of the effort and physicality that they play with. And so we got our work cut out for us this weekend.
I know in Philly he said that he was part of the, he looked up to Greg Williams. Is he kind of that same school of defensive coordinator where he's just going to go attack a lot?
Yeah, they do. They're very multiple. So, and there's, I would say, relatively limited tape on them. So there's going to be some wrinkles that we haven't seen, and which is typical early in the year. And you got to trust your rules.
Matt, you obviously had Derrick Henry during your 1 year in Tennessee, but at any point in your coaching career, did you see the shift from the air quotes workhorse back who you just gave maybe not 32 carries in a game, but a lot of carries too? And why do you think that shifted the way it did?
You're saying to multiple backs? Yeah. I just think this game it's very physical, and those guys, especially at that position, take a beating. So I think it's inevitable that there's going to be some attrition at that position, and you got to make sure that you're developing guys. And I mean, it's a long season. You've heard me say it a million times. It's a marathon, and so you got to be cognizant of that. I think, especially early on, and then when it gets down to it at the end, you got to do what you got to do.
So when you have a, lack of a better term, a normal game plan where you're not shooting for 40-plus carries, you don't want to see a guy get 30 carries himself generally?
I don't want to necessarily say that, because every situation is a little bit different. And, I mean, if you're feeding a guy and he's doing well and he's feeling great, why wouldn't you keep doing that? So I think you got to adjust. And if he's being effective and he can handle the wear and tear, then we'll certainly continue to do that.
Matt, what's been your early impressions with Chris Brooks, just kind of what he is as a runner, just kind of what he could potentially be?
Very, very impressed. He was a guy that we were looking at towards the end as a potential guy that we would be interested in had the situation come up. And I've been super impressed with him, just looking back at his tape from a year ago. And then there's a lot of carryover, I would say, just with some of the terminology that he learned in Miami with Mike McDaniel and then what we do here. So there's, I would say, some similarities. So I think it's helped him pick it up a little bit faster as well. But he's a very serious guy about ball. And I love his running style. I mean, he runs with a good forward lean. He's got great body control. He can stick his foot in the ground, and he's one of those one-cut runners. And I think he's really intelligent. So he's picked up our protections, no problem. So I'm excited about him. And he brings value in the third phase of ball as well on defense.
Last week when you were heading into the game and you were constructing this game plan with Malik, the stuff you did with your offensive line, was that a huge departure from some of the stuff you teach, and did you just sort of incorporate what you normally do in your run game and try to apply that to Malik?
Yeah, I would say so. That we didn't do anything like, I mean, we'll always have some wrinkles, but there wasn't anything that was just crazy new that we didn't feel like we could go out there and execute. Because, reps are at a premium in terms of how many reps you actually get in practice. And you never want to just throw something in there that you get very minimal reps and then expect our guys to go out there and perform and execute those. So I got to give Steno and the run game guys a ton of credit for coming up with a great scheme. And we window dressed a couple things and incorporated like Jay Reed in the backfield. And not that we haven't done that before, it's just different ways of getting to basically very similar concepts or concepts that we've ran before. And but ultimately it's on the players to go out there and execute it. And they did a great job of handling it. I would say that we had a larger inventory than we typically would carry into a normal week. So it was a credit to our guys to be able to digest all that information and go out there and execute it.
So if you go back to if Jordan starts, is that a transition, or are they so in tune with what you've done with Jordan that it's not really a big deal to go from what you did last week to what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, whether Malik was in there or Jordan or Sean, I feel like we could have done it with any of those guys. So, but that's why you want some volume to your playbook, and so you can pull out what you need to pull out on a given week.
And you singled Daniel Whelan out when you talked to the team after the game, and you mentioned him to us too. Just how does that, as an offensive coach, you obviously don't really want to see him up or out there, but how does that influence?
Sure we do.
You do want to see him?
Absolutely. I want to see him hold for as many PATs as possible. That's what I tell him all the time. I hope we don't use you today other than on PAT.
So when you are forced to use him in his other capacity, not only does he have a big leg, but he's able to do the other, going in kicks too. Like, what does that do for you as a play caller?
That's a huge weapon. I think when you look at the times that we had to use him, I mean, the first punt was inside the 10. The second punt was flipped the entire field. It was a 59-yarder with unbelievable hang time, and the protection on that punt was awesome. Tucker did a great job of looping inside. I think JJ did a great job, Van Ness. All those guys did a good job with some of those looks that were presented to us that were challenging looks. And then the last one, to pin the guy down on the 5-yard line, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more than that. So I think he's a guy that we were really encouraged about a year ago, and you just continue to see the work that he's put in, how serious he is about his craft, and he continues to get better and better and better. And when you have a guy that can flip the field, that's a real weapon.